Hi, this is Mark. Welcome back to my channel, What Burns My Ass. This is a channel where I tell you the things that burn my ass, and you tell me whether or not they burn your ass too. So, this video is going to be a discussion about the amount of money that was lost by not utilizing Donald Trump's recommendations on how to clean the forests and to collect the water, not only for use in putting out forest fires, but also being used for farmlands and large cities instead of relying on the Colorado River, which is basically what California is doing now. And there was answers given to Gavin Newsome, and he chose not to take Donald Trump on his offers. And Karen Bass leaving the country, insane. At the end of this video, we're going to also see all the celebrities that lost their homes and kind of how they dealt with it and how certain ones really stepped up to the plate to make themselves what I call big stars. Anyways, stay tuned and watch all the way to the end of the video, and we're gonna find out if this state's gonna turn red, and if it does, is it gonna burn your ass? In this first segment, Donald Trump is on the Joe Rogan experiment, speaking with Joe Rogan. I believe this happened just before the election. I think this was part of their 3-hour interview. And Kamala Harris was offered the same opportunity to have an interview with Joe Rogan, but she turned it down. I think that's part of the reasons why she lost by a landslide. She didn't get her message out to the population. And the few times she did do interviews, like on 60 Minutes with Bill Whitaker, and he basically made her look like a fool. And same thing with Brett Baer on Fox. Her interviews were typically a disaster. She couldn't articulate anything. It still amazes me, too, sometimes they interview people on the street, and they ask you, oh, are you sad that Kamala? Oh, yeah, she was an articulate. She had great plans, and she was... she told us that, she's going to make things great. She had these opportunities, zones, and but yet she had nowhere in the entire time she was running did she actually describe how it's going to work. And the one time she did, like Bill Whitaker said, no, this is the real world, and she still didn't get it. So that's why she lost. But this Gavin Newsome to me, and which they, Gavin Newsome and Kamala Harris reigned at the same time. She was the Attorney General at the same time Gavin Newsome was governor. And that's what has brought this California state down. That has caused dozens of companies to leave the state, and just the homelessness and the amount of mass immigration that's here, and the fact that we're on a deficit budget of like 50-60 billion dollars. And this is all because of the way the Democrats have run the state. They've run Hollywood out of Hollywood anymore. It's not the entertainment capital of the world. I think, matter of fact, I think more movies are being made in places like Atlanta, Georgia, Toronto, London, and Victoria, Australia, than they are in Hollywood. Hollywood is no longer the entertainment capital of the world because we've taxed it out of business. And Gavin Newsome is definitely a contributor to that happening. He hasn't done anything to keep the movie studios from moving to other parts of the world. Anyways, so let's get back to the fire here. This I'm going to describe his ineptness too, when it comes to what he should have done to prevent. Well, not prevent it. 'Cause here's the thing: I'm not going to put things on his shoulders because no governor can prevent everything. But there were opportunities to make things better. The budget is so low, so that Karen Bass, the Los Angeles mayor, had cut the fire department budget of Los Angeles by $400,000 or something like that. Quite a large amount of money. And so these are the reasons why the forest fires have been raging across this country, because they're not prepared. They're not handling them properly. And Donald Trump's going to describe some of the other preventive measures that they should have done. Now, Donald Trump, I'm going to say, I've said this all along, he's not my favorite person in the world. But lately, I'm seeing his brilliance when it comes to certain things, like, for example, cleaning up the forests, capturing the rainwater, things of that nature. So, I'm open to see this country turn around over the next 4 years. I'm excited to see what happens. But anyways, let's go ahead and listen to what he had to say to Joe Rogan and what he offered Gavin Newsome.
In order to protect a tiny little fish, The water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why do you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north. Water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. I could have water for all of that land, water for your forests. You know, your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You know, you could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And, you know, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. And all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves, get rid of, leaves that are sitting there for 5 years. And
we'll certainly get rid of the dead fall.
And get rid of the trees that have fallen that are like.
Now, here's the thing. I've seen this firsthand. I live in Palm Springs, California. We have the Palm Springs aerial tram. It's one of the biggest trams in the world. So I'm going to advertise for tourism in Palm Springs, but it's a great trip up the side of the mountain. It's a huge gondola that goes up the side of the mountain. And the few times that I have gone up there, they have this beautiful kind of cabin type atmosphere where there is a bar and entertainment and such like that. And I noticed though, when I would go outside, there was tons of dead trees everywhere you looked. And that was one of the things that ran through my mind, but well before any of this happened. I'm like, wow, if there's a fire, those dead, dried out trees on the ground are just going to burn. And Donald Trump sees it. I think it's common sense. And obviously, some people don't have that type of common sense. Anyways, let's move on to the next segment. And you're going to see here, again, more descriptions of things that could have been done in the state of California, but we're just kind of let go.
Thousands of Southern California residents have made harrowing escapes as devastating wildfires bear down on the Los Angeles area. Some fled by foot, some by car, and some by the grace of Good Samaritans. There are now 6 fast-moving wildfires raging around LA County, including the Pacific Palisades blaze and the Eaton fire in Altadena. The 6th fire, called the Sunset Fire, broke out last night in the Hollywood Hills area. Officials say the fires have killed at least 5 people and have burned down nearly 2,000 homes and structures, including ones owned by celebrities Billy Crystal, Mandy Moore, and Paris Hilton.
Well, it's very sad because I've been trying to get Gavin Newsome to allow water to come. You'd have tremendous water up there. They send it out to the Pacific because they're trying to protect a tiny little fish, which is in other areas, by the way, called the smelt. And for the sake of the smelt, they have no water. They had no water in the fire hydrants today in Los Angeles. It was a terrible thing. And we're going to get that done. It's going to finally be done. I got it done from the federal side, and he didn't want to sign it, but it's not going to happen again like that. There's no reason. Can you imagine? You have farmers that don't have any water in California. They have plenty of water. They don't have a drought. They send it out to the Pacific, and it's crazy. So what's happening in California is a true tragedy. I know those areas very well. I have many friends living in those houses. That is a true tragedy. Nobody ever thought. I mean, virtually Beverly Hills and areas around Beverly Hills are being decimated. The biggest homes, some of the most valuable homes in the world are just destroyed. I don't even know. You talk about a tax base. If those people leave, you're going to lose half your tax base of California.
Now, not just the millionaires and billionaires that lost their homes in the Pacific Palisades are we going to lose, but I mean, there's dozens of businesses leaving the state, and it's because it's way it's run. I mean, Hollywood is no longer the entertainment capital of the world. It's moved everywhere else. I mean, I think I mentioned before, their movies are being made in Atlanta, Georgia. They're being made in Toronto, Canada. They're made in London. And they're made in Victoria, Australia. They're not made in Hollywood anymore. And that's because of the way the state has been run ever since Gavin Newsom's been in office. I believe it's been since like 2008. And there was a recall election. I still don't understand how he wasn't recalled. I voted to recall him. And I just can't understand it. Just because somebody has a D after their name, you have to revote them. You have to vote them in again. It's brainwashing. It literally is. I don't vote party. I vote politician. And if Gavin Newsom was a good governor, I mean, I would vote for him. You know, I would have voted for him several times now, but he's been a horrible governor for the business in the state. I mean, the making the state a sanctuary state. So, and then they were actually offering $150,000 grants for illegal immigrants to buy houses. I mean, just these crazy things. While the state is still $60 billion in debt. I mean, that's the whole point of this video. It's not just the fires, but how those fires, because the way this state is run, were allowed to run rampant. That's the whole point of this. Now, at the end of this too, I want you to stay tuned, because at the end of this, I'm going to show you all the celebrities that lost their home, and some of the there's like I have a few little mini videos of them showing what happened to their homes. Steve Guttenberg is an amazing. I mean, I always liked him, but he's definitely a good human being when you see some of the things he's done to help LA out, and also same thing with Lady Gaga. Anyways, let's go ahead and listen to a few other things that have gone on in the state. Karen Bass. I mean, to run off to Ghana while the city that she's the mayor of is burning. It's just proof of, people that just don't get it as a politician. They don't see that they're serving the people. They believe that, it's just a job, and, I'm going to take advantage of everything I can. There's fringe benefits. I'll take advantage of it, blah, blah, blah. But it's not, to them, it's not about the people. And a real politician does their job to help their constituents. And you don't see that in a lot of politicians, unfortunately. Anyways, let's go ahead.
This firestorm is the big one in magnitude. Hurricane force winds are usually accompanied by rainstorms, but these are hurricane force winds that are combined with extremely dry drought conditions. To provide context, at 10:20 a.m. yesterday, the Palisades fire was at 10 acres. 12 minutes later, it was at 200 acres. I spoke with President Biden today and Governor Newsome earlier today, and they assured me of full federal and state support. If you have an evacuation warning, get ready to go.
Everybody's trying to get out. There's the big fire.
It's kind of sad, I mean, everybody's lost, not just this community. The community next door, I'm sure all the people up there have lost everything. It's just pretty devastating. This is pretty devastating. I don't think LA's seen anything like this before.
And they haven't, because in the past, well, first of all, I discovered something that was pretty devastating, kind of disturbing news, which is 95% of the forest fires in California are man-made, which means somebody started them. And I find that kind of pathetic. I mean, I think that's also something that the federal government needs to take care of. I hope Donald Trump does, which is kind of reverse some of the HEPA laws, that if you have a mental condition that makes you a danger to the society, that you can be forced into treatment. It doesn't sound like a good idea, but in some cases, I think it's very much necessary. And I think that would prevent a lot of, dangerous situations that has happened over the last several decades, like mass shootings and mass murders, and people where they kill themselves, they kill their family, they do these crazy things where they start arson fires and to grab it's amazing. This country's really kind of gotten a little scary in some cases. Anyways, let's go ahead and listen to some more of these situations that happen in California. And again, once we're going to get to eventually to the Hollywood stars.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up, please? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home? Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
No. Ma'am, hold on 1 second.
Madam Mayor, just a few words for the citizens today as you return to deal with the catastrophe.
Can you take this down?
Now you can see she didn't take any opportunity. She didn't try to take any responsibility. She didn't have any answers. There was no apologies. This is somebody who's supposed to be the mayor of like a million some odd people. I mean, it's pathetic. I mean, she could have even stood up for herself, say, hey, this is entirely my fault. I left for these reasons. Whatever. I mean, granted, it wasn't a good idea. It made her look bad. It does make her look bad. But sometimes I try to look at things through other people's perspectives. I don't really think there's a valid reason for just, leaving your city burn and go to another country. But she did come back. But here's the thing. There's no excuse for what she did here. She should have stuck up for herself. She should have said something. She should have made a statement. But instead, she avoided it. Which really drives me crazy is, these you can see the people in the airport were collaborating with her to get her out of the way of interviewers. And I mean, so just actually, much like being an actor, sometimes being a politician gets you some fringe benefits. But the way she acted here was absolutely pathetic and just inexcusable. It really was. Let's go into the next segment.
Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the call.
Why is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's get it. Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids losing the school.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one and building another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild.
Why was there no water in the hydrants, Governor?
That's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing
To
everything
fill the
I can.
hydrants. I would fill them up personally. You know that.
I literally have.
I would fill up the hydrants myself.
I understand.
But would you do that?
I would do whatever I can.
But you're not. I see the. Do you know there's water dripping over there, Governor? There's water coming out there. You can use it.
I appreciate it. I'm going to make the call to address everything I can right now, including making sure people
I'd
are
like
safe.
to make sure you do. Can I have an opportunity to at least tell people you're doing what you're saying you're doing? Could somebody have a contact? Can I have your contact information?
Now, I understand the passion of this woman. She had a kid. She's lost her home. Her kids have lost the lives that they had. I mean, it's going to be forever before they can go back to school and maybe go back and see their friends. This is going to change thousands of children's lives for the rest of their lives. This is going to affect them. So I understand her passion here. She was a little over the top. Well, there's some water coming out over there. Well, that doesn't mean there's enough water at that point. I mean, the lack of water was too great. Even if you see it running out from somewhere, that's not going to. But she was just. It's anxiety. It's passions. She's heartbroken. They've lost their lives. So I understand what she did right there. I mean, she wasn't exactly necessarily coherent in what she thought could be done, but I understand her wanting to see not to hear some answers. I don't think Gavin Newsom was honest about the cell phone service. I just think he wanted to get her out of her face. But I mean, it's yet again. I mean, it could have been true. I doubt it. I just think he was just using that excuse to get out of there. Anyways, we're going to move on to the next segment here, and another more segment, and we're going to be with the celebrities. So here we go.
Did you see that?
Yep.
You see that?
Yeah, that's awful.
You see that?
Yep.
Now that's actor Steve Guttenberg, and he's showing what was left of his house. I saw a picture of it. He had a rather nice house. It's got to be devastating to lose all that. It really is. It's heartbreaking. I just hope that some of them had the opportunity to go into their house and get things that meant things to their family, like pictures of relatives that have passed away or heirlooms or something like that. I hope if I lived in these areas, I would probably see if I could get like a fireproof box and keep it somewhere that would be readily available to move those things into. And if I had to evacuate, I could take some of that stuff with me. I think if I lived in these areas that are very fire prone, I fortunately live in the desert, which is not very fire prone, but I would, and the same thing if I lived in Florida, it'd be the same thing. I'd have to find some waterproof boxes to keep my memorabilia, my family heirlooms, and in case if a hurricane came in the middle of the night and devastated all my belongings. But anyway, Steve Guttenberg, I also heard he was out trying to move cars. He was asking people to leave their keys in the car if they were going to abandon their car, so that he and the other volunteers could move the cars out of the way for the first responders, which I think that's great. Lady Gaga, you can see the greatness of Lady Gaga here. She's a genuine human being as well, besides being amazingly talented. So here's some more of the celebrities. Yeah, that's her right there. And she was delivering pizzas to a homeless to a shelter. That's James Wood in his home. That's Chris Pratt, and that's his home burning. I mean, so a lot of these stars that's Jamie Lee Curtis. She lost everything as well. Billy Crystal lost his home. That's a picture of it right there. And of course, the Paris Hilton lost her home. I mean, and John Goodman. I mean, I love him. He's been a great actor for decades, and I really have some compassion for them. I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you have when you lose your home that that was your comfort zone. Like when where you're away from the studios, this was your solace. This was the place where you could just sit down and relax and feel yourself. And unfortunately, a lot of these actors lost that. So, okay, well, one more.
Celebrities are speaking out as devastating wildfires spread through Southern California. The fast-moving fires, which ignited due to extremely high winds on January 7th, prompted the mandatory evacuation of more than 80,000 people, per NBC News. Among the evacuees include several celebrities like Mark Hamill, who writes an update on his Instagram, quote, 7 p.m. personal fire update. Evacuated Malibu so last minute there were small fires on both sides of the road as we approached PCH. He then later includes an update saying he evacuated safely to his daughter's house in Hollywood, adding, quote, most horrific fire since '93. Celebrity chef Sandra Lee shares terrifying videos of the flames tearing across the Malibu coastline. She writes in her caption, quote, my home in Malibu has got me through some of the darkest moments in my life. I've loved creating it, embellishing it, building it, caring for it, and protecting it. The 58-year-old continues, I've cherished every moment I have had with it. As the fire draws closer, I pray for it. I pray for everyone in Los Angeles right now. What an incredibly terrifying moment for my community. Actress Mandy Moore takes to her Instagram stories, writing, quote, evacuated safe with the kids, dog, and cats, praying and grateful for the first responders.
Say a prayer for the Palisades here.
On social media, reality star Spencer Pratt chronicled the fire inching up to his home, posting later that after he and his wife Heidi Montag and their 2 children evacuated, his home was destroyed. Imploring social media users to post facts about the fire, Jamie Lee Curtis writes on her Instagram, quote, "My community and possibly my home is on fire. My family is safe. Many of my friends will lose their homes. Many other communities as well. There are so many conflicting reports." She continues saying in part, quote, "If ever there was a need for use of the phrase 'my hand in yours,' it is right now. Take care of each other." Others simply sent thanks and prayers for the firefighters and first responders battling the blazes, including Khloe Kardashian, who takes to her social media, writing in part on her Instagram stories, quote, "Your selflessness, resilience, and tireless efforts to protect lives and communities are deeply appreciated. You are true heroes, and we are incredibly grateful for all you do." Guardians of the Galaxy star Chris Pratt echoes her statement in his own post, writing in part, quote, "Thank you to the brave firefighters and first responders who are working tirelessly to protect lives, homes, and wildlife as they battle fast-moving wildfire fueled by fierce winds. You are true heroes, and we are endlessly grateful for your sacrifice and courage. Let's all come together to support one another during this tough time."
So you could see how these stars were devastated by this, and some of them get it. You could see, and obviously there's some pretentious stars that wouldn't say anything, at all, and just live their lives quietly and in the shadows, and appreciative of the money they're making when they make. But they're really not there for the fans. Some of them are just out there for themselves. But these people seem like that they enjoy their jobs and they're genuinely good people. And I like to see that more often in our society, because it seems to be a vanishing characteristic. So anyways, this has been, the story all along. And it's absolutely amazing that, this, anyways, the whole segment, the whole purpose of this video was to discuss the fact that, the inept leadership that's going on and the money that went into this so-called train that was supposed to run from San Francisco to high-speed rail that was supposed to run from San Francisco to Los Angeles. And only a few billions and hundreds of billions of dollars have been spent, and they got less than a couple miles of track. It's insane. And then to sit there and do the sanctuary city policy, where, I mean, there's probably several million illegal immigrants in the state. And yet Gavin Newsom's saying that he's going to hinder anything Donald Trump does to try to get some of these immigrants to leave. And I mean, it just doesn't make any sense when you're this behind the butt. I mean, because these people are getting Medicaid, Medi-Cal, food stamps, and I know there's going to be Democrats on here that are listening. Say they don't do that very much. That is not true. All you got to do is go to one of these social service offices right around the corner from my house, and that's mainly who is there. Now, am I saying that that's a bad thing? No, but I'm saying you can't say that adding this many more immigrants isn't going to add to the cost of the state, and it's one of the factors and why some of the preventive measures weren't done, because the state's just badly run. Have you ever called one of the government agencies in the state? You're lucky if you can get through. More than I would say 90% of them just show up there to get their check. They don't care if they do a good job. They don't care how many people they help. They don't care if they as long as they show up every day, they're going to get their check, and that's what they're concerned with. They don't care about a good job evaluation. They don't care about being competent at your job and doing a good job. It's just about getting your check and going home. And unfortunately, that happens a lot in state-run industries and federal offices as well. Not industry, but federal and state offices across this country, or should I say agencies. It happens a lot. It also happens a lot in charities as well. Anyways, long story short, that is my video for today. And I just always want you to remember, what burns my ass probably burns your ass too. And please watch the next video. I'm sure you'll love it.